The salvage ship Frontier's Edge drifted through the darkness of space, its engines humming quietly as it scanned the debris field ahead. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the screens that showed broken pieces of metal and destroyed spacecraft floating in the void. This was the Viridian Sector, a place where many battles had been fought and many ships had died. Jake was a man in his early 40s, with gray hair starting to show at his temples. He had been running salvage operations for 15 years, and he knew how to find valuable things in the wreckage of war. His crew of 30 people were experts at taking apart dead ships and selling whatever they could find. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on the scanners," said Megan Brooks from her station. She was the ship's scanner operator, a young woman with sharp eyes and quick fingers on the controls. Jake walked over to look at her screen. "What kind of strange?" "There's an energy signature about 20 kilometers ahead. It's weak but steady, like something is still powered up inside a derelict ship." Megan adjusted the controls and the image became clearer. "It's big, Captain. Really big." The screen showed a massive vessel, easily 10 times the size of the Frontier's Edge. Its hull was dark and scarred, with huge holes torn in its sides, but even in its broken state, the ship looked dangerous. "Can you identify it?" Jake asked. Megan ran the ship's profile through the database. A moment later, her face went pale. "Captain, that's a Kytheran war cruiser." Everyone on the bridge went quiet. The Kytharans were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors. They were a species that valued strength and honor above everything else. Their empire was ruled by queens who commanded vast fleets and conquered entire star systems. "Is it completely dead?" Jake asked carefully. "Scanning for life signs now." Megan worked her controls for a minute. "No life signs detected. The ship looks like it's been dead for weeks, maybe months, but that energy signature is still there, coming from deep inside." Jake thought about it. Kytheran technology was valuable, very valuable. But dealing with anything related to the Kytherans was dangerous, even their abandoned ships. Still, this was what they did. They were salvagers, and this was a prize worth taking a risk for. "All right, we're going in. Get Ryan and his team ready for a boarding operation." Ryan Cole was the ship's chief engineer, a big man with strong arms and a mind that understood machines better than most people. When Jake called him to the bridge and showed him the Kytheran cruiser, Ryan's eyes went wide. "You want us to board that thing?" Ryan asked. "Just a quick look around, see what's salvageable, and where that energy signature is coming from. Take Lisa and Ben with you." Lisa Hammond was one of Ryan's best mechanics. She was 32 years old, with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She was good with tools and had quick hands that could fix almost anything. What most people didn't know was that Lisa had spent 6 years in the military before becoming a salvager. She didn't talk about that time much. Ben Carter was younger, only 25, but he was smart and brave. He had grown up on mining stations and knew how to work in dangerous environments. The three of them suited up in their environment suits and took a small shuttle across the gap between the two ships. As they got closer, the Kytheran cruiser seemed to grow even larger. Its hull was covered in strange symbols and battle scars. Whatever had killed this ship had hit it hard. They found a breach in the hull and entered carefully. Inside, the ship was cold and dark. Their helmet lights cut through the blackness, showing corridors that were built for creatures much larger than humans. Everything was on a bigger scale. "Stay alert," Ryan said over the comm system. "Just because there are no life signs doesn't mean it's safe." They moved through the ship, following the energy signature that Megan was tracking. The corridors were filled with debris and frozen bodies. The Kytherans were tall, almost 8 feet, with 4 arms and thick armor-like skin. Even dead, they looked dangerous. After 30 minutes of careful exploration, they reached what appeared to be the captain's quarters. The room was larger than most apartments, with high ceilings and furniture built for someone very big and very important. "The energy signature is coming from in here," Ben said, checking his scanner. Lisa swept her light around the room and stopped. In the center of the far wall, mounted on a display stand, was a suit of armor. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The armor was made of some kind of crystalline metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Even in the darkness, it shimmered with colors that shifted from deep blue to purple to green. "That's amazing," Lisa whispered. She moved closer. Drawn to the craftsmanship, the armor was clearly made for a Kitharan, with 4 arm slots and a chest plate that was engraved with intricate patterns. But it wasn't just functional, it was art. "Lisa, be careful," Ryan warned. But Lisa was already examining the armor closely. She had always been fascinated by alien cultures and their technology. This armor was special, she could tell. It had been worn in real combat. There were scratches and dents that told stories of battles fought and won. She noticed that the chest plate seemed loose. Without really thinking about it, she reached out and carefully removed it to see how it was attached. The craftsmanship was incredible. Every joint was perfectly made. Every piece fit together like a puzzle. What Lisa didn't see was the small device hidden behind the chest plate. The moment she removed the armor piece, the device activated. A signal, powerful and urgent, shot out from the dead ship into the depths of space. "Got some good readings on this," Lisa said, turning the chest plate over in her hands. "This metal is unlike anything I've seen before. It might be worth more than the whole ship." "Then let's catalog it and get out of here," Ryan said. "This place gives me bad feelings." They spent another hour exploring the ship, finding more Kitharan technology and weapons. By the time they returned to the frontier's edge, they had a good list of valuable salvage. Jake was pleased with the report. "Good work, people. We'll start salvage operations in the morning. Lisa, get those armor pieces analyzed. If that metal is as special as you think, we might have a real prize here." Lisa nodded and took the chest plate down to her workshop. She didn't know that she had just made a mistake that would change everything. She didn't know that somewhere in the darkness of space, a Kitharan battle fleet had received the distress signal. And she didn't know that the armor she had touched belonged to a dead queen, and that touching it was a crime punishable by death. 3 days passed. The crew of the Frontier's Edge worked on breaking down the Kitharan cruiser and sorting the salvage. Lisa studied the armor pieces, making detailed scans and notes. Everything seemed normal. Then, on the morning of the 4th day, alarms screamed throughout the ship. "Captain, to the bridge! Now!" Megan's voice was filled with panic. Jake ran to the bridge and saw something that made his blood run cold. The screens showed ships dropping out of hyperspace all around them. Not just a few ships, but dozens. They were Kitharan warships, sleek and deadly, and they were forming a perfect circle around the Frontier's Edge. "Where did they come from?" Jake demanded. Jake stared at the empty screen where Queen Zahara's face had been just moments before. His mind raced, trying to find a way out of this situation. Around him, the bridge crew sat frozen at their stations, all of them knowing they were trapped. "How many ships out there?" Jake asked, forcing his voice to stay calm. Megan checked her scanners with shaking hands. 52 warships, Captain. All of them are armed, and their weapons are charged. We wouldn't last 10 seconds if they opened fire. Can we run? No, sir. They have us completely surrounded, and their ships are faster than ours. We'd be destroyed before we could even charge our jump drive. Jake looked around at his crew. These were good people, people he had worked with for years. Some of them had families waiting back on Earth. The thought of them dying because of a simple salvage operation made him feel sick. "Someone get Lisa up here," he said quietly. 5 minutes later, Lisa walked onto the bridge. She looked confused until she saw the Kitharan warships on the screens. Her face went pale. "What happened?" she asked. Jake explained about Queen Zahara's message. As he talked, Lisa's expression changed from confusion to horror to understanding. "The armor," she said softly. "I touched the armor. That must have triggered some kind of alarm." "Did you know it would do that?" Jake asked. "No, Captain. I swear I didn't know. I just wanted to study it." Lisa looked at the screens showing the Kitharan fleet. "This is my fault. I'll turn myself in." "No," Jake said immediately. "I'm not handing over any member of my crew." "Captain, you don't understand Kitharan culture," said Ben, who had come to the bridge with Lisa. He had studied alien civilizations in school. To them, a queen's armor is sacred. Touching it without permission is one of the worst crimes possible. They'll execute Lisa slowly and painfully to send a message. Lisa's face was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. Then that's what has to happen. I won't let everyone else die because of my mistake. There has to be another way, Jake said. He turned to Ben. You said you studied Ketherans. Is there anything in their laws or customs we can use? Ben thought hard, his face tight with concentration. They value honor above everything. They have codes for warfare, for justice, for settling disputes. Wait, there is something. Trial by combat. If someone is accused of a crime, they can demand to settle it through a fight instead of accepting punishment. Would they accept that from a human? Ryan asked. He had come to the bridge as well, and now the whole senior crew was gathered. I don't know, Ben admitted. But it might be our only chance. Jake made his decision. He opened a communication channel to the Kitheron battlecruiser. Queen Zahara, this is Captain Jake Morrison. I request permission to speak. The screen came to life again, showing the angry face of the Ketharan queen. Up close, Jake could see the details of her armor and the scars on her face. This was a warrior who had fought in countless battles. You have 45 minutes remaining, human. Have you decided to surrender the criminal? Zahara's voice was cold and hard. We have identified who touched the armor, Jake said carefully. But before we discuss surrender, I want to invoke your law of trial by combat. The accused has the right to defend themselves in honorable battle. The queen's 4 eyes narrowed. You know our laws? Some of them. Enough to know that honor demands you allow a fair challenge. Zahara was quiet for a long moment. Around her, other Ketherans moved in the background of the screen, all of them watching and listening. Finally, she spoke. Very well, human. I will accept trial by combat. But I choose the terms. The battle will be between your criminal and a champion of my choosing. If your warrior wins, the matter is settled and you may go free. If your warrior loses, everyone on your ship dies. Do you accept these terms? Jake looked at Lisa, who nodded. We accept. Good. The battle will take place in 6 hours. That will give you time to prepare your warrior and for us to construct a proper arena. And human captain, know this. I will be the champion who faces your warrior. I will fight personally to avenge the insult to my mother's memory. The screen went dark again. The bridge was silent until Ryan spoke. She's going to fight personally? The queen herself? Ben pulled up information on his tablet. Queen Zahara the Unconquered. She's been a warrior for 40 years and has never lost a single combat. She's killed hundreds of enemies in personal battle. She's a legend among the Ketherans. Lisa sat down heavily in a chair. So, I'm going to die anyway. At least this way. The rest of you might survive. No, said a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Nicole Price, the ship's doctor. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. You're not going to die because you're not going to lose. Doctor, have you seen Ketharans? Ryan asked. They're 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and muscles like steel cables. Lisa is 5'6". It's impossible. Nothing is impossible, Nicole said firmly. She walked over to Lisa. You were in the Colonial Marines, weren't you? I saw it in your medical records. When you joined the crew. Lisa looked uncomfortable. That was a long time ago. 6 years of service. Combat certified. Zero-gravity fighting specialist. You competed in military tournaments and won medals. Nicole crossed her arms. You're not just a mechanic, Lisa. You're a trained warrior. That was against other humans, Lisa said. Not against an 8-foot-tall alien who has never lost a fight. Then you'll be the first to beat her, Nicole said simply. But you're going to need help. Over the next few hours, the frontier's edge became a training ground. Nicole went to work immediately, preparing combat enhancement drugs. These were chemicals used by human special forces to push their bodies beyond normal limits. They would increase Lisa's reflexes, dull her pain, and sharpen her focus. They were also dangerous, burning through the body quickly and leaving the user exhausted afterward. You'll have maybe 30 minutes before these wear off, Nicole explained as she prepared the injections. After that, you'll crash hard. So you need to win fast. Ryan and Ben worked in the engineering bay, modifying a standard combat hardsuit for Lisa to wear. They added extra armor plates to the chest and arms, reinforced the joints, and installed power boosters in the legs to help her move faster. It's not fancy like Keitharan armor, Ryan said as they worked, but it'll keep you alive a bit longer. What about weapons? Ben asked. Lisa thought about it. Something simple. A staff, maybe. Titanium, 6 feet long. A staff? Against a warrior with a sword and 4 arms? Ryan looked doubtful. Trust me, Lisa said. I know what I'm doing. While they worked on the equipment, Lisa went to the ship's gym. She needed to warm up, to remember her old training. She started with basic movements, simple strikes, and blocks. Then she moved faster, letting her body remember the patterns it had learned years ago. Jake found her there an hour before the battle. She was dripping with sweat, moving through a complex series of movements that looked like a deadly dance. Are you ready? He asked when she stopped. Lisa wiped her face with a towel. No, but I'm as ready as I'm going to be. You don't have to do this. We could try to run, or fight our way out. And how many of the crew would die in that fight, Captain? All of them? Lisa shook her head. This way. At least there's a chance. And it's my responsibility. I touched the armor. Jake wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. Instead, he said, the Kitharans fight with honor and expect the same from their enemies. They believe in facing your opponent directly, matching strength against strength. I know, Lisa said. I've been studying their combat footage. They're amazing warriors, strong, fast, skilled with weapons. So how are you going to beat her? Lisa smiled. But there was no humor in it. By not fighting fair. Kitharans believe in honor and direct combat. Humans believe in survival. We'll do whatever it takes to win, even if it means being sneaky or underhanded. That's our advantage. The Marines taught you that? The Marines taught me that humans can't match most alien species in raw strength or natural weapons. So we got creative. We learned to use psychology, deception, and tactics that other species consider dishonorable. We learned to turn our weaknesses into strengths. Jake nodded slowly. Make us proud, Lisa. An hour later, Lisa stood in the shuttle bay, fully suited up. The combat hardsuit felt heavy but familiar. Nicole had given her the injections, and she could already feel them working. Her senses were sharper, her heartbeat strong and steady. The titanium staff was in her hands, perfectly balanced. The entire crew had gathered to see her off. They didn't say much, but their faces showed everything. Fear, hope, determination. Megan stepped forward and pressed something into Lisa's hand. It was a small metal coin, worn smooth with age. My grandfather carried this through 2 wars. It kept him safe. Maybe it'll help you too. Lisa closed her fingers around the coin. Thank you. The shuttle launched, carrying Lisa toward the combat platform that the Kitharans had constructed between the 2 ships. Through the window, she could see it. A circular arena 100 meters across, surrounded by energy barriers that glowed blue in the darkness of space. On the other side of the arena, another shuttle was approaching. That would be Queen Zahara. Lisa took a deep breath and checked her equipment one final time. The staff was secure. The suit's systems were all green. The enhancement drugs were flooding through her system, making everything seem clear and sharp. The shuttle docked with the platform, and the door opened. Lisa stepped out onto the arena floor. It was made of some kind of metal that rang under her boots. Above and around her, she could see screens showing the arena to both crews. Thousands of eyes were watching. The arena was completely silent for a moment after Lisa spoke. Then, from the Kitharan ships, there came a sound like thunder. It was laughter. Harsh and mocking. The idea that a small human could defeat their legendary queen was clearly amusing to them. Queen Zahara did not laugh. She studied Lisa with her 4 eyes, taking in every detail of the human's stance and equipment. When she spoke, her voice was cold. "You have courage, human. That is good. Courage makes death more honorable. But courage alone will not save you." A voice boomed across the arena, coming from speakers all around them. It was another Kithaeron, serving as the combat judge. "The trial by combat will now begin. The fight continues until one warrior yields or dies. There will be no interference from outside forces. Begin." Zahara did not wait. She charged forward immediately, her massive form covering the distance between them in seconds. Her war blade came up in a sweeping arc that would cut Lisa in half. Lisa had been expecting this. Kithaeron's always attacked aggressively at the start of combat. It was part of their warrior culture to show strength immediately. She did not try to block the massive blade. Instead, she dropped low and rolled to the side. The war blade passed through the space where she had been standing, missing her by inches. The force of the swing was so great that Zahara needed a moment to recover and bring the heavy weapon back under control. Lisa used that moment. She came out of her roll and struck with her staff, not at Zahara but at the arena floor. She used the staff like a pole vault, launching herself into the air in a spinning movement that brought her boot around in a hard kick aimed at Zahara's helmet. The kick connected with a loud clang. It did not hurt the queen. The armor was too strong for that. But it did something more important. It surprised her. No one had ever taken the offensive against Zahara so quickly in combat. Lisa landed and immediately moved, not giving the queen time to respond. She stayed close to Zahara, inside the range where that massive warblade was less effective. The queen had to step back to create space for her weapon. From the Kithaeron ships, the laughter had stopped. The watching warriors were silent now, focused on the fight. Zahara swung her blade again, a horizontal cut that came from the side. Lisa saw it coming and jumped straight up, using the power boosters in her suit legs. The blade passed under her feet. While she was in the air, she struck down with her staff, hitting the queen's shoulder joint. Again, the armor protected Zahara from damage. But Lisa was not trying to hurt her. Not yet. She was doing something else, something the Kithaeron's did not understand. She was learning. Every strike Lisa made, every movement Zahara responded with, gave Lisa information. How fast could the queen move? How did the armor restrict her motion? Where were the weak points? Lisa's enhanced reflexes let her process this information quickly, building a picture of her opponent's capabilities. Zahara began to move differently. The initial aggressive attack had failed, so now she became more cautious. She used her size and reach advantage, keeping Lisa at a distance with the warblade. Her forearms allowed her to switch her grip quickly, changing the angle of attack without warning. Lisa found herself being pushed back across the arena. She blocked when she had to, but each block sent painful vibrations up her arms. The queen's strength was incredible. A direct hit from that blade would cut through Lisa's armor like paper. The enhancement drugs in Lisa's system were working at full strength now. Time seemed to slow down. She could see the tiny movements Zahara made before each attack, the shift of weight, the tensing of muscles under the armor. This let her react faster, dodging by smaller and smaller margins. But dodging was not enough. Lisa needed to attack, to find a way to actually hurt the queen. The problem was the armor. It covered almost everything, and it was incredibly strong. Lisa's staff could not break through it with direct strikes, so she stopped trying to break through it. Instead, she started looking for gaps. Zahara swung her blade in a downward chop. Lisa stepped to the side and let it hit the arena floor. The impact was so hard it left a dent in the metal. While the queen was recovering from the strike, Lisa moved in close again. This time, she aimed her staff at the gap between the chest plate and the arm joint. The staff slipped into the gap and Lisa pushed hard, using the leverage to force Zahara off balance. The queen stumbled but did not fall. She brought her lower two arms around in a strike, trying to grab Lisa. Lisa ducked under the grab and rolled away. She was breathing hard now, despite the drugs. This fight was taking everything she had. "You fight like a coward," Zahara said, her voice angry. "All dodging and running. Stand and face me properly. Aft. All dodging. All dodging. Stand and face me properly. Lisa did not respond. She was too focused on breathing and watching. The Queen was getting frustrated. That was good. Frustrated opponents made mistakes. Zahara charged again, this time using all 4 arms. She held the warblade in her upper arms and reached for Lisa with her lower arms. It was a complex attack that would be hard to avoid. Lisa did something unexpected. She ran straight towards Zahara instead of away. At the last second, she slid on her knees under the Queen's reaching arms. As she passed beneath Zahara, she struck upward with her staff, hitting the back of the Queen's knee joint. The armor had a gap there to allow the knee to bend. Lisa's staff hit that gap hard. Zahara's leg buckled and she went down on one knee. The watching Kitharans made a sound like a collective gasp. Their queen had been brought low by a human half her size, but Zahara was not finished. Even on one knee, she was dangerous. She spun and swung her blade in a wide arc. Lisa had to throw herself backward to avoid being cut in half. She landed hard on her back, and for a moment she was vulnerable. Zahara stood up and advanced, raising her warblade for a killing strike. This was it, the moment that would end the fight. Lisa looked up at the massive warrior towering over her. She saw the blade rising. She saw Zahara's 4 eyes filled with determination and anger. And she saw something else. She saw that in raising the blade high, Zahara had exposed her armpit, where the armor had a gap to allow the shoulder to move. Time seemed to stop. Lisa's enhanced reflexes gave her the speed she needed. She rolled to the side as the blade came down, missing her by inches. The impact cracked the arena floor. Before Zahara could recover, Lisa came up in a crouch and thrust her staff forward like a spear, straight into the gap under Zahara's raised arm. The titanium staff penetrated the gap and hit the Queen's body. But that was not all. Ben had made a modification to the staff at Lisa's request. The tip could deliver an electric shock, powered by the combat suit's energy cell. Lisa triggered the shock. Electricity flooded into Zahara's body through the gap in her armor. The Queen's muscles locked up, her forearms going rigid. The warblade fell from her hands and clattered on the arena floor. Zahara collapsed to her knees, her body shaking from the electrical current. Lisa pulled the staff back, and the shock stopped. The Queen knelt there, gasping for breath, temporarily paralyzed. Lisa stood over her, staff raised for a finishing strike. The arena was completely silent. Everyone watching knew that Lisa could deliver a killing blow right now. The Queen was defenseless, but Lisa did not strike. Instead, she lowered her staff and took a step back. Then she did something that shocked both humans and Kitharans. She extended her hand toward the fallen Queen. Zahara stared at the offered hand. Her body was still recovering from the electrical shock, muscles twitching. She could barely move. And yet this human, who had every right to finish the fight, was offering help instead of death. "The fight is over," Lisa said quietly. "You lost. But you do not need to die." On the frontier's edge, the crew watched in amazement. Jake gripped the armrest of his chair so hard his knuckles were white. "What is she doing?" he whispered. On the Kitharan ships, there was chaos. Warriors shouted at each other in their own language. Some demanded that the fight continue. Others were simply stunned into silence. In the arena, Zahara continued to stare at Lisa's extended hand. Slowly, feeling began to return to her limbs. She could refuse the help and continue fighting. Her honor demanded it. She had never surrendered in her life. But something made her pause. This human had beaten her fairly. More than that, the human had shown mercy when she could have shown cruelty. In Kitharan culture, there was a concept called Korash, which meant warrior's respect. It was the highest honor one fighter could show another. Korash was demonstrated in several ways. Victory in battle was one, but the greatest form of Korash was to defeat an enemy completely and then choose not to kill them. It showed that the victory was absolute, that the winner had total control and chose mercy from a position of strength, not weakness. This human had shown Korash. And Zahara, for all her pride and anger, recognized it. She reached up with one of her hands and grasped Lisa's smaller hand. The human helped pull her to her feet. Zahara stood there for a moment, towering over Lisa even now, looking down at the small warrior who had done the impossible. Then Zahara did something she had never done before. She removed her helmet, exposing her face to the arena. In Kitharan culture, this was a sign of respect and trust. You only removed your helmet in front of those you considered equals. You have won, Zahara said, her voice carrying across the arena. By the laws of combat, the matter is settled. Your crime is forgiven. The Kitharan judge's voice boomed out. The trial by combat is concluded. The human warrior is victorious. All charges are dismissed. Lisa felt her legs start to shake. The enhancement drugs were wearing off, and exhaustion was flooding through her body. She kept her face calm, but inside, she wanted to collapse. She had won, but barely. A few more minutes, and she would not have had the strength to continue. Thank you, Lisa said to Zahara. You fought with great skill and honor. Zahara studied her carefully. No. You fought with cleverness and speed. You used tactics I have never seen before. Every time I expected you to respond one way, you did something different. How did you learn to fight like this? I'm human, Lisa said simply. We're not as strong as other species. We're not as fast or as tough. So we learn to be unpredictable. We learn to use our brains more than our muscles. Interesting. Zahara looked thoughtful. I have fought for 40 years against many different species. The Krillians with their poison weapons, the Mordax with their razor claws, the Threxians with their energy shields. But I have never fought humans before. Your way of warfare is very different from ours. Different does not mean worse, Lisa said. No, Zahara agreed. Different can also mean valuable. She paused, then asked, Tell me, human, what is your name? You have earned the right for me to know it. Lisa Hammond. Lisa Hammond, Zahara said the name carefully, like she was tasting something new. You have given me much to think about. Your ship is free to go. Take what salvage you wish from my mother's ship. You have earned it. She turned to leave, but Lisa spoke again. Wait. Can I ask you something? Zahara turned back. Speak. Why did you come personally to fight? You're a queen with an entire fleet. You could have sent any warrior to face me. Zahara's expression became sad. The armor you touched belonged to my mother, Queen Valora. She died in battle against a rival house 3 months ago. Her body and her sacred armor were being transported to the royal tombs for burial when the ship was attacked. Almost everyone aboard was killed. I'm sorry, Lisa said, and she meant it. I truly did not know. I meant no disrespect. I know that now. At first, I thought you were grave robbers with no honor. That is why I was so angry, but you have shown me that humans understand honor, even if you show it in different ways than we do. Zahara picked up her fallen warblade. My mother was a great warrior and a wise ruler. One of the last things she told me was that the galaxy is changing, and that those who cannot adapt will not survive. I did not fully understand what she meant until today. What do you mean? I mean that I have been fighting the same way for 40 years. Direct attacks, strength against strength, honor combat. And for 40 years, it has worked. But today, you showed me that there are other ways to win. Ways I had never considered. Lisa nodded slowly, understanding. Sometimes the best way to honor someone is to learn from them, even after they're gone. Lisa woke up in the medical bay 12 hours later. Her whole body ached like she had been hit by a truck. Nicole was sitting beside her bed, reading something on a tablet. How do you feel? The doctor asked, when she saw Lisa's eyes open. Like I fought an 8-foot alien warrior queen and barely survived, Lisa said with a weak smile. That's because you did exactly that. Nicole handed her a glass of water. The enhancement drugs are completely out of your system now. You're going to be sore for a few days, but there's no permanent damage. You were lucky. I was more than lucky. I was good, Lisa said, then winced. That sounds arrogant. You earned the right to be a little arrogant. You did something impossible. Nicole stood up. The captain wants to see you when you're feeling up to it. The Kitharan fleet is still out there, but they're not threatening us anymore. In fact, something strange is happening. What kind of strange? You should hear it from the captain. Lisa got dressed slowly, every muscle protesting. When she finally made it to the bridge, she found Jake and the senior crew gathered around the communication console. They all turned to look at her when she entered. Lisa, good to see you on your feet, Jake said. We have an unusual situation developing. More unusual than being surrounded by 50 alien warships? Lisa asked. Much more unusual. Queen Zahara has been requesting to speak with you personally. She's sent 3 messages in the last 6 hours. Lisa blinked in surprise. What does she want? She won't tell us. She says she will only speak directly to you. Jake looked curious. What exactly happened in that arena after you won the fight? Lisa told them about the conversation she had with Zahara, about the Queen's mother and the comments about different ways of fighting. When she finished, Jake was thoughtful. She's interested in how you fight, he said. That could be useful or dangerous. I'm not sure which. Only one way to find out, Lisa said. Open a channel. Jake nodded to Megan, who activated the communication system. Queen Zahara's face appeared on the screen. She was not wearing her helmet, which Lisa now understood was a sign of respect. Lisa Hammond, Zahara said. You have recovered from our battle. More or less, Lisa said. I'll be sore for a while. But I'll survive. What can I do for you, Queen Zahara? I wish to speak with you privately. Will you come aboard my ship? The bridge went very quiet. Ryan spoke up. That's not a good idea, Lisa. We don't know if we can trust them, but Zahara heard him. You have my word as a warrior, and a queen that Lisa Hammond will not be harmed while aboard my vessel. She defeated me in fair combat. That has earned her my respect and protection. Lisa thought about it. This could be a trap. But she had seen something in Zahara during their fight and afterward. The queen was proud and fierce, but she was also honorable. When she gave her word, Lisa believed she would keep it. I'll come, Lisa said. Jake pulled her aside. Are you sure about this? No. But I'm curious what she wants. And if the Kitharans wanted us dead, they could have killed us already. They have 50 warships, and we have 1 salvage vessel. If the Queen wants to talk, we should listen. An hour later, Lisa took a shuttle across to the Crimson Fang. As she approached the massive battlecruiser, she felt small and vulnerable. The ship was enormous, bristling with weapons and armor. This was a vessel built for war. She docked in one of the smaller hangar bays and was met by 2 Kitharan warriors. They were both female, like all Kitharan warriors. Males existed in their species but were smaller and stayed home to raise children and manage civilian affairs. The females did all the fighting. The warriors escorted Lisa through the ship. Everything was built on a huge scale. The corridors were wide enough for 3 Kitharans to walk side by side. The ceilings were high. Even the doors were massive. Lisa felt like a child walking through a world made for giants. They brought her to a large chamber that appeared to be a command center. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls, showing star systems and fleet positions. In the center of the room, Queen Zahara stood studying a holographic display. Leave us, Zahara said to the escorts. The warriors bowed and departed, closing the door behind them. Zahara turned to face Lisa. Without the armor, the queen looked slightly less intimidating but still very large and powerful. She wore a simple uniform that showed the scars and battle marks on her skin. Thank you for coming, Zahara said. I know it was a risk. You gave your word, Lisa said. I chose to trust it. A wise decision. My word is worth more to me than my life. Zahara gestured to the holographic display. Come. Look at this. Lisa walked over and saw that the display showed a sector of space with numerous star systems marked in different colors. Red markers showed battle sites. This is the border region between my territory and the domain of a species called the Scrix, Zahara explained. For the past 5 years, we have been at war with them. I've heard of the Scrix, Lisa said. They're insectoid, right? Hive-minded? Yes. They fight in massive swarms, overwhelming their enemies through sheer numbers. We Kitharans have been trying to stop their expansion. But we are losing ground. Zahara pointed to the red markers. Each of these represents a battle we fought against them. We win some, but we lose more than we win. Why are you telling me this? Zahara turned to look directly at Lisa. Because you showed me something in our battle. You showed me that there are different ways to win a fight. Ways I had never considered. I'm not sure I understand. Kitharans fight with honor. We meet our enemies head-on. We use our strength and courage to defeat them. This has worked for thousands of years against other honorable species. Zahara's expression became frustrated. But the Scrix have no honor. They swarm like insects because that is what they are. They do not care how many of their own die. They just keep coming. And your traditional tactics don't work against them, Lisa said, beginning to understand. Exactly. We charge their lines, and they surround us with overwhelming numbers. We fight bravely, and they simply sacrifice 10 soldiers to kill one of ours. Eventually, we run out of warriors, and they keep coming. Zahara looked at the display with tired eyes. If something does not change, the Scrix will eventually overrun our entire empire. Lisa studied the battle maps. She could see the problem immediately. The Kitharans were fighting a war of direct confrontation against an enemy that could afford to lose millions of soldiers. It was a losing strategy. You need to change how you fight, Lisa said. Yes. But I do not know how. That is why I asked you here. Zahara met Lisa's eyes. During our battle, you did things I never expected. You did not try to match my strength. Instead, you used speed and surprise. You turned my own power against me. You fought in ways I considered dishonorable, but which were extremely effective. We call it asymmetric warfare, Lisa said. When you can't match your enemy's strengths, you avoid fighting on their terms. You hit them where they're weak, retreat before they can respond, and wear them down over time. This is how humans fight. It's how weaker forces have always fought against stronger ones throughout our history. Guerrilla tactics, ambushes, psychological warfare, sabotage. We use every advantage we can find because we know we can't win in a straight fight against bigger, stronger opponents. Zahara was quiet for a long moment, absorbing this. Then she asked, could these tactics work against the Scrix? Lisa looked at the maps again, thinking, maybe. Probably. The Scrix rely on overwhelming numbers and coordinated attacks. Right? What if instead of meeting them head-on, your fleets hit their supply lines? What if you attacked their hive nodes and retreated before they could bring their full force to bear? What if you made them chase you into traps and ambushes? That would be seen as cowardly by my people. Is it more cowardly than losing the war and watching your empire fall? Lisa asked bluntly. Zahara's face hardened, then slowly relaxed. No, you are right. Pride means nothing if we are all dead. It's not about being cowardly, Lisa said. It's about being smart. Using your brains instead of just your muscles. There's no shame in winning a war by outsmarting your enemy instead of overpowering them. Zahara walked to a window that looked out into space. She was silent for a while, thinking. Finally, she spoke. I have a proposal for you, Lisa Hammond. I want to hire you as a military advisor. Lisa was stunned. What? I want you to teach my commanders how to fight like humans. How to use these asymmetric tactics against the Scrix. Zahara turned back to face her. You would be well paid, given a position of honor in my fleet, and provided with whatever resources you need. I'm just a mechanic, Lisa said. I was in the military, but I was never a high-ranking officer or a tactical genius. You defeated me in combat using methods I could not counter. That makes you qualified. Zahara's voice became intense. My people are dying. Lisa Hammond, good warriors, brave soldiers, are being slaughtered because we do not know how to fight this kind of enemy. You could save thousands of lives, maybe tens of thousands. Lisa felt the weight of the request. This was far bigger than anything she had ever been asked to do. I would need to contact my captain and Earth Command. I can't just make this decision on my own. HFY. I understand. Take whatever time you need. But please, consider it seriously. Lisa was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Why me? Why not hire human military officers who have more experience?" "Because I trust you," Zahara said simply. "You showed me courage in the arena. You could have killed me and did not. That tells me what kind of person you are. I do not want someone who will simply give orders and collect payment. I want someone who will genuinely try to help my people. Someone with honor." The conversation continued for another hour. Zahara explained more about the war with the Scrix, about the losses the Kitharans had suffered, about the desperate situation her people faced. Lisa asked questions and listened carefully. Finally, Lisa said, "I need to go back to my ship and think about this. Can you give me 24 hours to decide?" "Of course. Take whatever time you need." When Lisa returned to the frontier's edge, Jake immediately wanted to know what had happened. She explained the entire conversation, including Zahara's offer. The senior crew gathered in the conference room to discuss it. "This is big," Jake said. "This is not just about you taking a new job. This is about humanity potentially forming an alliance with one of the major powers in this sector." "I know," Lisa said. "That's why I can't decide this on my own. We need to contact Earth Command." Jake nodded. "I'll send a priority message. But I can tell you what I think. I think you should do it." "Really? Think about it, Lisa. We're a minor species in galactic terms. We have a few colonies, some trade agreements, but no real power or influence. If you can help the Kitharans win their war, they'll owe us. That could open doors for all of humanity." Ryan spoke up. "Plus, you'd be saving lives. That's got to count for something. And you'd be teaching them that humans are valuable allies," Ben added. "Right now, most alien species see us as weak. This could change that perception." Nicole was more cautious. "It's also dangerous. You'd be going into a war zone with an alien species we barely know. There are 1,000 ways this could go wrong." 6 months passed quickly. Lisa stood on the bridge of the Crimson Fang, watching the tactical display with intense focus. Around her, Kitharan officers worked at their stations, calling out coordinates and status reports. Queen Zahara stood beside her, wearing her battle armor. "The Scrix fleet has entered the ambush zone," reported Commander Krell, one of Zahara's senior officers. "They are following our retreat exactly as predicted." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Tell the Shadow Wings to move into position. Wait for my signal." The past 6 months had changed everything. When Lisa first started working with the Kitharan military, there had been resistance. Many warriors saw her methods as cowardly and refused to listen to a small human telling them how to fight. But Zahara had supported her completely. And slowly things began to change. Lisa had started small. She selected a group of young warriors who were more open to new ideas and trained them personally. She taught them about hit-and-run tactics, about using terrain and obstacles to their advantage, about attacking supply lines instead of fortified positions. She showed them footage from Earth's military history, examples of smaller forces defeating larger ones through superior tactics. The first test had been a disaster. The warriors tried to use the new tactics but fell back on their training when the battle got intense. They charged the enemy directly and suffered heavy casualties. Lisa had watched good soldiers die and felt responsible. But she did not give up. She adjusted her training, worked with the warriors more closely, and tried again. The second battle went better. The third battle was a victory. After that, word spread through the fleet that these new human tactics actually worked. More and more warriors volunteered to train with Lisa. She created special units called Shadow Wings, teams of warriors who specialized in asymmetric warfare. They wore lighter armor for speed, used hit-and-run attacks, and focused on disrupting enemy operations rather than direct confrontation. Now, 6 months later, the Ketheran military had transformed. They still had their traditional heavy assault forces, but they also had these new flexible units that could adapt to different situations. The combination was proving devastating against the Scrix. Shadow wings in position, Krell reported. All units ready. Trato wings. Lisa looked at Zahara. Your call, Queen. Zahara studied the tactical display. The Scrix fleet was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Ketheran force. 6 months ago, she would have ordered a direct assault, tried to break through their lines with courage and strength. Many Kitherans would have died, and they probably would have lost. But now she saw the battlefield differently. She saw opportunities where she had once seen only obstacles. Execute the plan, Zahara ordered. Spring the trap. The Kitheran ships that had been retreating suddenly reversed course. At the same time, the Shadow Wings emerged from behind asteroids and debris, hitting the Scrix fleet from 3 different angles. It was not a direct assault, but a coordinated strike aimed at specific targets. The command ships that controlled the Scrix swarms. The Scrix tried to respond, but their strength was their weakness. They relied on coordinated attacks controlled by central hive minds. When the Shadow Wings destroyed the command ships, the swarms became disorganized. Individual Scrix vessels were dangerous, but without coordination, they were just targets. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Kitheran fleet had won with minimal casualties. It was the 5th major victory in the past 3 months. The tide of the war was turning. Later, in the command center, Lisa and Zahara reviewed the battle reports. Around them, other officers celebrated the victory. Excellent work, Zahara said. Your tactics continue to prove their value. Our tactics, Lisa corrected. Your warriors are the ones executing them. I just provided the ideas. Do not be modest. You have changed how we think about warfare. Some of my commanders now come up with their own variations on your methods. They are learning to be creative, to think beyond tradition. Lisa felt proud of that. Teaching the Kitherans to think flexibly had been harder than teaching specific tactics. But once they understood the principle of adapting to situations, rather than following rigid doctrine, they became very effective. Queen Zahara, said Krell, approaching them. We have received a communication from Earth Command. They are requesting a status report from Advisor Hammond. I'll take it in private, Lisa said. She went to a smaller room and opened the communication channel. The face that appeared on the screen was Admiral Helen Cruz, one of the senior officers in Earth's military command. Advisor Hammond, the Admiral said formally. Your reports have been read with great interest at the highest levels of government. The success you've achieved with the Kitherans is remarkable. Thank you, Admiral. The Kitherans are quick learners, once they accept that change is necessary. Your work has had effects beyond the immediate military situation. We've been contacted by 7 other alien civilizations, requesting human military advisors. Apparently, word has spread about the effectiveness of human tactical thinking. Lisa was surprised. 7 civilizations? The Valorian Federation wants help reorganizing their defense forces. The Threnian Collective is interested in asymmetric warfare training. The list goes on. Admiral Cruz smiled. It seems humanity has found a niche in the galactic community. We're not the strongest or most technologically advanced, but we're the most creative and adaptable. That's always been our strength, Lisa said. We survived on Earth by being clever, not by being the biggest predator. Indeed. Which brings me to the reason for this call. Earth Command wants to formalize this arrangement. We're creating a new division, the Office of Military Exchange. Its job will be to provide tactical advisors to allied alien civilizations. We want you to head this division. Lisa sat down, stunned. Me? Admiral, I'm not qualified to run a division. I was a corporal in the Marines. I'm a mechanic. You're the person who defeated a legendary alien warrior in single combat and then convinced her entire civilization to change how they fight wars. I'd say you're qualified. Admiral Cruz's expression became serious. This is important, Lisa. What you've done here with the Kytherans could be the beginning of something bigger. Humanity could become the galaxy's premier source of military strategy and tactical innovation. That gives us influence and power we could never achieve through technology or raw strength alone. Lisa thought about it. 6 months ago, she had just been trying to survive. Now she was being asked to shape humanity's role in the galaxy. "I'll need time to think about it," she said. "Take the time you need. But remember, this isn't just about you. This is about showing the galaxy what humans can do." After the communication ended, Lisa sat alone, processing everything. She thought about where she had been 6 months ago, desperately fighting for her life in an arena. She thought about the journey that had brought her here. There was a knock on the door. Zahara entered without waiting for permission. The Queen could read Lisa's expressions now, after months of working together. "Earth Command has offered you a promotion," Zahara said. "It was not a question." "How did you know?" "You have the look of someone facing a difficult decision." Zahara sat down, which was notable. Keitharan queens rarely sat in the presence of others. It was a sign of how much their relationship had changed. "Will you accept?" "I don't know. It's a huge responsibility." "You have already carried huge responsibility. You saved my fleet, my warriors, my people. What Earth Command is asking you to do is simply more of what you have already proven you can do. But what about here? The war with the Skrix is not over. You still need help." "We do," Zahara agreed. "But we also have learned much. My commanders can continue what you started. And you have trained many warriors in your methods. We will miss you. But we will survive." Lisa looked at the Queen. Over the past 6 months, they had become friends, though neither of them used that word often. They respected each other as warriors and trusted each other as allies. "There's something I need to tell you," Zahara said. "Something I have been considering for some time." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I want to propose a formal alliance between the Keitharan Empire and humanity. Not just military cooperation, but full political and economic partnership. That's a big step. You saved us when we were losing a war we could not win. You showed us respect and honor when others would have shown arrogance. You have proven that humans are worthy allies." Zahara's 4 eyes were serious. "But more than that, I believe humanity has something the galaxy needs. The ability to adapt, to think differently, to find solutions that others miss. In a galaxy of rigid traditions and ancient species set in their ways, humans are like fresh air." Lisa felt emotion rising in her chest. "Thank you. That means a lot. Will you carry my proposal to your government?" "Yes. I think they'll be very interested." My Brannon. The formal alliance was negotiated over the next month. Lisa found herself shuttling between Earth and Keitharan space, helping translate not just languages, but cultures and expectations. It was exhausting but exciting work. The final treaty was signed on Earth, in Geneva. Queen Zahara traveled there personally, the first Keitharan ruler to ever visit the human homeworld. Lisa stood beside her during the ceremony, wearing a hybrid armor that combined human and Keitharan design. It had been a gift from Zahara, a symbol of their friendship and partnership. The treaty included military cooperation, technology sharing, and trade agreements. But it also included something unique: a cultural exchange program. Human military advisors would train with Keitharan forces, and Keitharan engineers would share their advanced technology with human industries. After the signing ceremony, Lisa and Zahara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. It was night, and the lights of Geneva sparkled below them. "Your world is beautiful," Zahara said. "Smaller than our planets, but full of life and energy." "It's home," Lisa said simply. "I have been thinking about what happened 6 months ago, when you touched my mother's armor. At the time, I was so angry I wanted to destroy your entire ship. Now, I am grateful it happened. Because we became allies? Because it taught me that sometimes the worst moments can lead to the best outcomes. My anger and your mistake brought us together. Now both our peoples are stronger for it." Lisa smiled. "My captain has a saying: Every crisis is an opportunity if you're smart enough to see it. A wise saying. Zahara was quiet for a moment, then asked, "What will you do now? Have you decided about Earth Command's offer?" "I accepted it. I'll be heading the Office of Military Exchange. We already have requests from a dozen alien civilizations wanting to learn human tactics. Then you will be very busy. But remember, you will always have a place in my fleet. If you want it. You are an honorary Ketheran warrior now. That bond does not break. Thank you. I'll visit when I can." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city. Two warriors from different worlds, brought together by chance and conflict, now working to build a better future. A year later, Lisa sat in her new office at the Office of Military Exchange headquarters. The walls were covered with maps, showing human military advisors stationed across dozens of alien civilizations. What had started with one mechanic teaching tactics to Ketherans had grown into a galaxy-wide program. Jake Morrison was visiting, along with Ryan and Ben. They had all taken positions with the new office, using their experience from the frontier's edge to help train and support advisors in the field. "Remember when we were just salvagers picking through wrecked ships?" Ryan said, looking at the maps. "That was only 18 months ago," Lisa said. "It feels like a lifetime." "Because it was a different life," Jake said. "We were just trying to make a living. Now we're shaping interstellar politics." There was a chime at the door. Megan entered, now working as Lisa's assistant. "Sorry to interrupt, but you have a visitor. She says it's urgent." "Who is it?" "Queen Zahara. She just arrived in orbit and requests an immediate meeting." Lisa felt a spike of concern. Zahara visiting unannounced meant something important had happened. She told Megan to bring the Queen in immediately. Zahara entered the office, still wearing her armor from space travel. Her expression was serious but not angry. "What's wrong?" Lisa asked immediately. "Nothing is wrong. Something is very right." Zahara's face broke into a rare smile. "The Skriks have requested peace negotiations. After 2 years of losing battles using the tactics you taught us, they want to end the war." The room erupted in cheers. Lisa felt a wave of relief wash over her. The war that had seemed unwinnable was ending because warriors had learned to think differently. "That's amazing," Lisa said. "Your people must be celebrating." "They are, and they know who to thank." Zahara reached into a pouch on her belt and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. She handed it to Lisa. "This is for you." Lisa unwrapped the cloth and gasped. Inside was the chest plate from Zahara's mother's armor, the piece Lisa had removed so long ago on that derelict ship. It had been cleaned and polished until it gleamed. "I cannot accept this," Lisa said. "This is sacred to your family, which is why I want you to have it. You honored my mother's memory by showing me that there are many paths to victory. You saved countless Kytheran lives by teaching us to adapt and change. My mother would have respected you greatly." Zahara's voice was firm. "This belongs to a warrior of honor and courage. That warrior is you." Lisa felt tears in her eyes. She held the armor piece carefully, feeling the weight of the gift and what it represented. "Thank you," she whispered. "No, Lisa Hammond. Thank you." After Zahara left, Lisa placed the armor piece on a stand in her office. It caught the light and shimmered with colors, a reminder of where this journey had started. A simple salvage mission that had turned into something that changed the galaxy. Jake stood beside her, looking at the armor. "You know what's funny? All of this, everything that's happened, started because you were curious about alien technology. You couldn't resist taking a closer look." Lisa laughed. "I guess curiosity really is a human trait. We see something interesting, and we have to examine it, understand it, figure out how it works. And sometimes we accidentally start wars and then end them by teaching aliens to think like humans," Ryan added. "The human way of war," Ben said, using the phrase that had become popular across the galaxy. "Hit them where they're weak, think faster than they do, and never fight fair when you can fight smart." Lisa looked at her friends and colleagues, then at the maps, showing human advisors spreading across alien civilizations. She thought about the alliance with the Kytherans and the peace that was coming to a war-torn region of space. "You know what the real human way of war is?" she said. "It's not about being sneaky or underhanded. It's about refusing to accept that things have to stay the way they've always been. It's about looking at an impossible situation and finding a solution anyway. It's about adapting and changing and never giving up. That's what makes humans special," Jake agreed. "We're not the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but we're the ones who refuse to stop trying. We're the ones who can change." Lisa touched the armor piece gently. "And sometimes, that's exactly what the galaxy needs." Outside the window, ships from a dozen different alien civilizations passed by the space station. Many of them coming to learn from human military advisors. The galaxy was changing, becoming more flexible and adaptive, and at the center of that change was humanity, the small species that had survived on a dangerous planet by being clever and creative. Lisa Hammond, former Marine, former mechanic, former salvager, now head of the Office of Military Exchange, smiled as she watched the ships pass. She had touched an alien queen's armor and nearly died for it. But that mistake had become an opportunity. And that opportunity had shown the galaxy what humans could do. She opened a communication channel to the frontier's edge, which was still operating as a salvage vessel under a new captain. "This is Lisa Hammond. I need you to run a special salvage mission for me." "What are you looking for?" the captain asked. Lisa looked at the Kytheran armor piece glowing in her office. "Everything. Anything. Every piece of unknown technology. Every mystery. Every puzzle the galaxy has to offer. Because somewhere in all that wreckage and debris, there are more opportunities waiting to be found. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's turning opportunities into victories." She ended the communication and turned back to her work. The galaxy was big and full of challenges, but humanity was ready, armed with creativity, adaptability, and the willingness to try things no one else had thought of. And it had all started because one curious human could not resist touching something beautiful, mysterious, and forbidden. Sometimes, Lisa thought, the best adventures begin with a mistake. "Everything worth doing is dangerous," Lisa said quietly. She thought about Zahara, about the genuine concern she had seen in the Queen's eyes when talking about her dying soldiers. She thought about the maps showing battle after battle, each one marked in red. 20 hours later, Earth Command sent their response. It was brief. "Proceed with negotiation. Establish formal alliance if possible. You have full authority to act on behalf of humanity in this matter." Lisa sat alone in her quarters, reading the message over and over. They were putting enormous trust in her. She was just a mechanic who had gotten lucky in a fight. Now she was being asked to represent her entire species. But she thought about the Kytheran warriors dying because they did not know how to adapt. She thought about how humans had always survived by being clever and flexible. Maybe this was what humanity could offer to the galaxy. Not strength or advanced technology, but the ability to think differently and find creative solutions. She made her decision and sent a message to Queen Zahara. "I accept your offer. Let's save your people." "Yes," Zahara replaced her helmet. "Farewell, Lisa Hammond. I suspect we will meet again." The Queen walked back to her shuttle and departed. Lisa stood alone in the arena for a moment. Then her legs finally gave out and she sat down hard on the floor. The crash from the enhancement drugs was hitting her all at once. She felt dizzy and sick. A shuttle from the frontier's edge came to collect her. Ryan and Ben helped her aboard, both of them grinning widely. "You did it," Ben said. "You actually beat her." "Barely," Lisa mumbled. Her whole body hurt now that the pain suppressors were wearing off. Back on the frontier's edge, the crew cheered as Lisa was brought aboard. Jake met her in the shuttle bay with a huge smile on his face. "You're insane," he said. "But you saved us all." "Just doing my job, Captain," Lisa said, then passed out from exhaustion. Across the arena, Queen Zahara entered. She was even more impressive in person, towering over Lisa by more than 2 feet. She wore her mother's sacred armor, the crystalline metal gleaming with inner light. In her upper 2 hands, She carried a massive war blade that looked like it weighed as much as Lisa's entire body. The queen walked to the center of the arena and stopped. Her voice boomed out, amplified by speakers. "Human, you have committed a grave offense against my family and my honor. Today, I will have justice. Fight well, and your death will be quick. Fight poorly, and I will make you suffer. Either way, you will die." Lisa walked forward until she stood 10 meters from the queen. She planted her staff on the ground and looked up at the massive warrior. "Maybe," Lisa said quietly, "or maybe today is the day you finally lose." "They just appeared, Captain. I didn't even get a warning on long-range scanners." Megan's hands shook as she worked her controls. The largest of the Ketheron ships moved forward. It was a battlecruiser, painted in deep crimson with gold markings along its hull. A communication signal came through, and Jake accepted it. The face that appeared on the screen made everyone on the bridge take a step back. It was a Ketheron female, but unlike any they had seen before. She wore armor that looked similar to the pieces Lisa had found, but darker and more menacing. Her 4 eyes blazed with anger, and her voice was like thunder. "I am Queen Zahara, the Unconquered, commander of the Crimson Fang and ruler of the 7th Fleet. Someone on your ship has touched my mother's sacred armor. You have 1 hour to identify the criminal and surrender them to me, or I will turn your ship and everyone on it into atoms. The choice is yours." The screen went dark, and the bridge was silent, except for the sound of people breathing too fast.